Joey, and I'm joined by Paul.
Oh.
And by Neil.
Hi, mate.
Moments of the week then. Paul, you start.
My moment of the week was, for the first time in ages, me and you went to a home game together. And it was just quite nice to spend time with my friend Joey.
Oh, I felt the same, of course.
Yeah.
Marvellous.
Obviously, the fact we won was pretty good. But, it was just a good day out. And I saw the game, we'll get on to the game, but it was just, sometimes you forget that football's actually about spending a bit of time with friends and sort of getting drunk and sort of having sort of nice. Problem is, it's difficult, as me and Neil were just discussing about the sort of the St Andrews thing. But it was just nice to spend time in that environment where all we focused on was the football, and sometimes you forget about that, especially as being the Cov fan. So it was just nice to actually spend time. I know a lot of people aren't this season, which might sort of blow myself up in going badly here probably. But it's just nice to spend time with people and actually enjoy watching the football. There you go.
I think that's fair.
Ironically, at the stadium that everyone's talked so heavily about, I suppose. But there you go. Neil, your moment of the week?
It's been a good week, I think. There's been some good things that have happened, and I feel a bit strange for not mentioning anything about a 3-2 win. We're going to talk about that in the way that we did, but I am still running on a major Tom Bayliss high after last week's podcast, and just generally what was a really, really good reaction to it. The podcast itself was great to do. Tom was awesome, and just everybody seemed to really enjoy it. So I'm kind of saying this out loud when everybody who's going to be listening to this will also. I'm basically directing it to you people, but cheers for listening and cheers for being nice to us about it.
Yeah, it was very nice, wasn't it? I would talk more about kind of Bayliss and Blackpool, but I'm having some technical issues my end tonight, listener, so my contribution to this is going to be very, very limited indeed. So, Paul, I'm going to throw over to you straight away. Blackpool, you said that it was good to talk about things on the pitch, so let's continue that on. So, what was it like?
Well, obviously it didn't start particularly well. First, the team news came in and Kelly wasn't playing, so the new lad, Liam Walsh, came in. And then after, 58 seconds, a ball to the far post, guy completely unmarked, put it back across goal, and we were 1-0 down. And whenever anyone scores in the first minute, 2 minutes, you're not really annoyed or disappointed. It's just sort of, we've got 90 minutes, the game hasn't really started. It's one of those things. It was a good ball in. It was quite a nice finish in the end, actually, from the lad. And you can't be too disappointed at that point. And then it was a bit of a scrappy game after that for about 10 minutes as both teams sort of tried to work that out, what this meant and how we were going to go forward from there. And it was a bit scrappy. I said to Neil again, I thought about maybe 3 or 4 of our players just underperformed all game. Like McCallum never really got going. A lot of his balls were just to the opposition. I think McFadden closes down quite a lot, and his passing isn't great. So the sort of balls out from the back weren't particularly good. And Blackpool are quite a big physical side. In the first half, they were using that, and it was quite a scrappy game. And then we probably got on top in a way without really being threatening, which we can be at times, where we had a bit more possession in the middle third, and our front players were getting involved, but not really. Hawula was having one of those Hawula times where he was getting on the wall, but not really doing anything. Gibello is an odd player. I mean, he's a winger and he likes putting crosses, but we only had one player in the box, so unless the cross was perfect, it wasn't. Godden wasn't anywhere near it, so it was a bit not. The odd thing was it never really dragged. It was never a boring game. It was just a game where neither team really got going for periods, and then I don't think we really made their keeper made a diving save in between their first goal and their second. But I'd probably say that they didn't make our keeper make a diving save either. Is that fair, Joey?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
And then they scored the second, which was yeah. There's a good thing about Joey now is I can just basically play a 1-2 off him where I know he can only sort of bounce it back.
That was wonderfully played, I thought.
And then then the second was a bad goal to concede. Quite a few, like Walsh got overrun, ball went into the sort of inside left channel again. McCallum didn't really cover himself in glory. Even Rose, who I think's had quite a good start to the season, didn't particularly look particularly composed in that. And then it was 2-0, and you were like, okay, this is now a difficult game. Blackpool, they started the game above us in third place. They're a team who started the season well, and you were just like. But before you had time to get completely grumpy with the whole situation, the ball came in. Their two defenders. We'd play a lot of passes, and a lot of passes sometimes were a bit aimless. We play in front of teams, and then suddenly the ball came in. The first time we'd just sort of not hit and hope, but just put it into an area and thought, well, something might happen from this. The two Blackpool defenders between the two of them, just one of them headed it into the other one, or must misread it. The ball dropped. And Gooden just smacked it into the back of the net, and that's what he is. He's a finisher.
That's all Godden for me. I just think so smart, just in terms of positioning, just making himself available for just so they haven't to worry about it. And he's not necessarily doing much physically, but he's in the position where they're having to concern themselves, causing enough confusion, and then the ball just drops in a vague kind of area, and he's just able to adjust and adapt and pull it into the net. And I mean, this guy, he is my kind of guy. He's proper sort of lively, smart striker, just making good decisions all the time. I'm really pleased with him. He's had a great start.
And the question mark will be, and it's happened a couple of times against Blackpool, is what happens when Blackpool are on top? He's okay. He's not a bad player. He's not a bad footballer. He just can be quite anonymous at times. Which is fine if he's scoring goals, as long as we have another outlet. As long as when we need to relieve pressure, we can through a different route. And the problem is, for times on Saturday, he wasn't. We couldn't work out how to play with him as a defensive player or as a controlling player. But I think that's just going to come. But at the end of the day, he's scoring goals. He's getting in those positions. He's making life awkward, and that we needed that just before half time. And then suddenly, again, another ball came in, I think from Callum this time. Hawula had his back to goal, and you're like, oh, just don't fuck it. Oh, he's passed it, and Jabello from about 5 yards did exactly what you wanted, which is smacking the ball as hard as you can. And it went into the top corner. And I think quite a lot of people have made the issue of the fact he raised his hand to his ear as if a sort of, oh, I'm getting some abuse, I'm giving it back to the fans. And the way I saw it was more the fact that, I want praise, like, give me some love, if that makes sense.
I do see a lot of our players do that, though. I do wonder they all seem a bit aggravated whenever they score a goal. I'm not to go too far ahead, but O'Hare kind of had some sort of weird reaction to scoring a goal where it's a bit of defiance, and I don't know. Maybe they hear more there.
The thing is, I think Jabello sort of he's an odd footballer, but I didn't hear anyone there was no one really slagging him off. It was like, I'm not sure he's going to score that many goals. But I said that to Joey, and I was about 50 yards away from him. Now, if he heard that, then the guy's got superhuman hearing. That's all I'm saying.
Probably not directed towards you, I imagine. There are probably a few other people with similar sentiments. But even it might not have been that. It might, how sensitive these people are. And he's all over social media as well. He might have even read stuff, and that might be his reaction to things that people have said about him. I think there has been a bit of a mixed reaction to his start. He's an odd player. I think he's going to be first choice for a while just because of kind of what he potentially gives you. He seems to think he's lightning quick, and yet he isn't, or at least he's not been able to show it so far. And I don't know, it was just, I couldn't quite work out the celebration. For someone who just scored his first goal for a club, it did seem to have a kind of an air of defiance about it, which might be a good thing. It might actually get him going. To be honest, it didn't really get him going for the rest of the match. He just carried on playing his usual sort of stuff. But, I think there is a player there somewhere. I think there's someone who, with a little bit more belief in himself, not just thinking he's fast, but actually belief in his kind of ability to maybe carry the ball a little bit more. I think we could do something with him, because you mentioned earlier about his kind of crossing, and I think sometimes what I seem to notice with him in particular is that his crossing is it's a sort of a default response, whereas you kind of like, nobody's going to have a go at me for trying to cross, and that's almost right. Nobody has a go at you for trying to cross, even if you're just putting it into a vague area. But sometimes you sort of think, well, you don't need to cross at this point. You can do something with it, maybe carry it a little bit more, maybe play someone else in. But I think over time you like to think, well, maybe he will stop doing the default and he'll actually start maybe backing himself a bit more to just keep hold of it a little bit and just kind of play others in and actually start to feel part of the team rather than just almost going through the motions.
I think, again, as you say, it's early days and we're winning and he's playing okay. How good he can be is something they've got to sort of draw out of him. And I think also it's on Dabo, I don't know what we're going with on this, is an odd player as well. It's like, how good is he? There isn't a partnership between those two yet. Now, there might be, and I think that'll definitely benefit Gibello when Dabo sort of gets himself sort of understand what his role within the team is.
I might have to nip this one in the bud. I don't think I can handle you saying Dabo all season.
You're the only person calling him Dabo.
So everyone else is Dabo.
We're going Dabo, I think.
Or Fanky, I believe is what Oggy calls him.
Yeah, you could go for that as well, maybe. Thank you.
No, I'll go with Dabo if that's what we're agreed.
Where else would you go from there, Paul?
Oh, and then half time, and went down to meet Joey for a half-time pint, and the toilets had leaked at St Andrews, so there was a big stream of piss going between between one half of the stand and the other half of the stand, which was delightful.
What?
The toilets are basically broken, and there's a slight slope down from the toilets to the stands, and that's where the wee went. The wee went down the slope. So I had a couple of brummies going, I don't know what's happened over there. It's like, yeah, pissing everywhere. That's what's going on down there.
Strong Highfield Road vibes at that point.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. And then the second half was one of those strange games where both teams seemed to be quite happy that the game was going to probably be a draw. Blackpool have been like, well, we've been 2-0 up. Yeah, we've tried being in the lead. It didn't quite work out. And we're quite happy not to be bothered about it for the rest of the game. And we were trying things, but as I said to Neil again earlier, you go through the team, it's just like quite a few people have bad games. Dabo had a bad game. Was all right with the ball, probably one of the better ones with the ball. McCallum was poor. McFadden, I don't know why we use him so much in possession. I just don't. He takes the ball forward, and it's like, oh, look, he's carried the ball. And it's like, yeah, but he's going to do something stupid with it, and he's going to give the ball away. It's not going to be anything useful. And I thought he had another particularly average to poor game. In midfield, I really like the look of Walsh. I think he's that player who can distribute. He showed he can pass the ball short, long with either foot, moves the ball quickly. The question with him is, being only 5'6", is whether or not teams can put him under pressure on days where it's not sort of glorious sunshine. It's, for him and probably Westbrook and O'Hare is when the games are a bit more physical, when they're a bit more difficult, whether or not teams can override them a little bit more. I thought Blackpool, they used their physicality in the first half. I was quite surprised by how little they tried to use it in the second half. How passive they were in a way of just sort of letting us play around quite a bit in the second half. And then when O'Hare came on, I think there's definitely something there. Mm-hmm. I'm surprised that I'm yet to really be overly impressed with Westbrook. He gives the ball away quite a bit. He's not really, for me, he's a bit indecisive. He's quite slow at times, especially in possession. And he just seems to make quite odd choices. And you watch O'Hare come on, and O'Hare's just like a bit more purposeful. You know that he's got a plan. I know it's sort of probably helped him that he's scored twice and he's only really had cameos when he's come on, but he looks like a guy who's got an idea of what he's trying to achieve. He doesn't do anything for just doing it. He does things like, I can try and release that player, or I can do this, or I'll pass and move and I'll create space this way. And I think he really just gave us that impetus. And it wasn't surprising that the players who were on the pitch that he scored the winner, because he was the one who was still probing, still trying to make things happen. While quite a few players, I think for both teams, would probably settle for that draw. O'Hare was one of the ones who hadn't settled for it. He was one of the guys who was still trying to drag us forward.
Where do you stand on like sticking with him as a bit of an impact sub, or giving him sort of 25 minutes at the end of the game while he's still showing he's kind of actually a real good spark for us near the end of the match? Would you do that, or are you just got to start him now because he just seems far better than most of our other players?
I'm with you. Play your best team. I know we discussed it with Chaplin last season, whether or not he'd, being a super sub would benefit him. I think when you've got someone who's seems to be that heavily involved in midfield and quite creative. I mean, I thought he'd probably take over from Jabello on the right wing, but having seen him in that sort of central midfield in the three, I just think that he's got again that ability to carry the ball from midfield, which I think we all agree we were going to lose when Bayliss left. But he can bring that in. He does that definitely more than Westbrook. I mean, Shipley had one of his Shipley games where he did some nice things, and then you were like, crap, where the hell's Shipley gone for 20 minutes? And that's where he's got to really improve. Shipley's got to be more on it. He's got to be more involved. He's got to be more of a presence for 90 minutes instead of just being a presence for 20 and then disappearing out the game. And then, I said, Hawula had a Hawula game. When the ball's around him, he looks interested. You thought Hawula was better than that, didn't you?
He made 2 goals for a start.
Yeah, he did. But if I'm going to be cruel, he made 2 goals by being in the penalty area, someone passing in the ball and him passing it to someone else.
I still think you've got to do it.
I thought it was a Burkamp sort of assist, is it?
I thought there was it. I just thought that for how uninvolved he was last weekend, I thought he was all over the place. Makes it sound like a bad thing. I thought he was everywhere on Saturday. I thought it was one of his better games I've seen him have for us. Neil, don't know about you.
I am very much in the middle of this one. I agree with Paul in that I don't think there was. It frustrated me still, but I think when you do that direct comparison between the previous match where there was just anonymity throughout, he showed a willingness at least this week to do something about it, which I think that's where my frustration lies with him more often than not. It's just that I don't see the willingness to get involved and actually make things happen. So he'll just happily flirt around and wait for the game to come to him. And then if he loses the ball, well, what are you going to do? Whereas at least this week, I did see that there was kind of an intent there. And like you say, he set up a couple of goals, which we can all dispute the merits of what an assist actually means. But I think for him, while he's doing that and showing some willingness, that is far better than the Hawula that we're very used to seeing, which is someone who doesn't even do that.
I also just thought he was more willing to drift along across the line more than he ever has been before. I just thought he was a bit more fluid and I think the goal for O'Hare comes off his wrong side, doesn't it? He's on the right at that point, and I know that he's probably been dragged there because of the way where the ball is or whatever. But I just thought he was so much more dangerous. But anyway, I've got to be careful.
I mean, but me and my mate actually were talking about this before because we kind of discussed Hawula quite a lot, and our suggestion before that game was, well, he's either going to score or put in a performance which at least alleviates pressure on him for the next 4 or 5 games, because that seems to be his pattern, where he will put into the performance just to make sure that he can continue in the team, and then he'll drop his standards. And like I say, that is almost my frustration with him, because you sort of think, this guy scored, I don't know how many he scored last year, but he was our top scorer, so you almost feel he warrants a lot of praise for that. And yet there's just constant annoyance with the fact that there's just mistake after mistake in his play, and he's just able to sort of offset those mistakes with the fact that he does get a goal. He knows how to get a goal. He knows how to eventually create. What I really hope he'll do, and maybe we'll never ever see this because he's playing in League One, but I just hope he can kind of stabilise his play a little bit more and become a bit more of a solid player, so you can at least feel like you can trust him. If he's not doing the really magic stuff and scoring the goals and creating shit, he's actually at least performing to a kind of a solid level and is impacting the game in other ways, where I think if he's not doing the fantasy football points stuff, he's often totally sort of anonymous.
The thing is, he's almost like a wrong generation, isn't he? Because he's not a left winger or left front of a 3. He does that because he can play that role. He's a striker in a front 2 back in the day where you played him alongside someone who's a bit more physical, and you basically used his pace and directness. So he didn't have to be involved for like long periods. He just had to be aware when he had to be aware. Now we're asking him to trap back. We're asking him to do lots of things where you also get the feeling when he probably came through, he was just a number 9. He played through the middle. So he's probably still learning and adapting how to play the role that we ask him to do. And he's fine, isn't he? I mean, he's just fine. He works. And I think as my thing on Saturday is, I don't think everyone had a good game, but the team worked. and we got the result because we kept going. We didn't lose our heads when we went 2-0 down. We didn't panic. We probably didn't have time to panic in a way because we're only 2-0 behind for such a short amount of time. And also we managed to get back in. We got level again before half time. So you've taken the first half out of it. You've taken the fact you were 2-0 out of it by half time. You don't have that sort of lingering doubts or like, I should have done this, I should have done that. You've got it back to 0-0. The game resets. And as I said, I think Blackpool were by about the 60th minute, we're just quite happy to take the draw out of it. And as we go forward, we're still unbeaten. That's Blackpool. We all said they were the hardest team we played this season, and they were a good side in terms of what they do. They had a plan. They had some tricky players to play against. I thought Jay Spearing had quite a good game in that role that he does for them, which is what Liam Kelly does for us most of the time. And we've come through it. We go on to with joint top with Wycombe. We go into the Burton game still in a good reign of form. Still some players to come back. I know one of the questions, we're not going to discuss the questions, but one of them is on Biamu. And it's, for me, on the Biamu thing is he was out for a year. He's playing pretty much non-competitive under 23s. I know they are competitive, but if you listen to what Tom Bailey said last week, they're still a couple of steps down from playing proper League One. I'd rather Biamu plays another 4 or 5 of those, and then we bring him back in end of October or mid-October, than we just try and pull him in too early, because we saw what happened with Jody Jones. Then we saw what happened when he came on against Bolton.
Yep.
Let's just let him get match fit. Let him get fit. And then we'll worry about whether or not he's good enough for League One or whether or not he should be in above Bakayoko. At the moment, he's doing his rehab. Let him do his rehab. Let the club sort of do the rehab that they think they need to do with him. And he'll get back there. But let's not rush these things. There's no need to, especially at this moment in time.
That's the key thing, isn't it? I think at the moment there isn't any need to. We don't need to force it. We don't need to rush it, because what, on the face of it, doesn't necessarily seem like the most sort of cogent first 11 in certain places actually is doing a really good job. And when you're looking on the side, you've got other players who will be coming back, and you think, well, he's going to edge him out of the team. He's going to edge him out of the team. I said to you earlier, like Jody Jones, you're seeing him smashing balls into net in training now, and you're sort of thinking, okay, this guy he's going to hopefully become an option for us moving throughout the season. You've then got Alan as well, who sounds like he's had a bit of a setback, but he should be jumping into the team. And Castanier came on. We haven't spoke about him, but he came on, and again, he just looks like an absolute beast, and he will be a threat for us. So I'm glad we've kind of we moved it onto a kind of a positive note, because unbeaten at this point in the season, and gradually game by game starting to see things that make you feel more comfortable with individual players. Now it's not perfect, and it's not going to be perfect right away, and it will never be perfect throughout the season because of just the nature of football and the nature of this league. But to see us show such resilience already so many times throughout the season already, it's incredible, really, considering what is supposed to be a tricky thing for us, having to play, not at our home ground, and we don't have any fans behind us or anything like that. And ultimately, it's currently going for us, and I'm really positive about it. I'm just positive about the fact that we do have options to change if we need to, but the players who are currently playing are moving us forward and actually keeping us fighting. And we're going to win the league. That's my last point.
Can I very quickly, so that I don't robot up too much, just bring your attention to the fact that Castanier had a higher expected goals figure than the player who scored 2 goals for Blackpool. And Castanier managed to do that in, the 3 minutes that he was on the pitch.
Yeah.
He did miss an absolute sitter, which I don't think you've quite forgiven him for, have you?
I'll never forgive him for that. I don't understand. I've watched it so many times. It shouldn't be the thing that you focus on a 3-2 win when you were 2-0 down. I can't get over it. I think it's only a player like him that could miss it, isn't it? I think he's probably tried to overcome. Do you not think it was the easiest chance in the entire world?
Definitely easy, but you see it all the time, don't you? Someone 1-on-1 on the keeper. It's you versus keeper. It's like you v them. It can happen.
Right in the centre with a clear run through goal from he could have done
easy.
He could have done anything he wanted to do. He could have. I think anybody with half a head would have just ran out wide of the keeper and slotted it past it. Like he could have, but he had the opportunity to sort of smash it past him, roll it past it. You could have done it, but I think that probably the number of
points.
I think the problem with it is that because he had so many options, I think he's probably not made a decision. I think sometimes they talk about it with Raheem Sterling, don't they? The best thing that can possibly happen for Raheem Sterling is for have a chance that he doesn't get the chance to think about.
Yeah, totally, yeah.
And I think that there was a level of that with Castaneer, is that there was possibly it opened up for him a bit too much. But I just remember thinking, what? Yeah, sorry, go on.
I mean, sorry, what I actually found really funny was obviously then he had the header afterwards, which we'll never know whether it was in or not, but I just loved his determination to make his celebration kind of as pointed as possible towards the linesman, almost like willing him. I am really celebrating this because I know it's a goal. You must give me this goal. And the linesman was like, nah, you're not having this, mate. Sorry. But yeah, he's a one, isn't he? He's gonna interest us all season, I think.
Oh Christ, yeah. But what a we were able, in terms of attacking talent, we were able to bring him and O'Hare off the bench in that game. I mean, that's ridiculous, isn't it?
That'll do.
Right,
just
Paul. Oh, sorry, go on.
No, this is off topic, but I just noticed that James Maddison is trending, presumably because he didn't get onto the pitch again for England. Ugh.
What is going on there? But there you
Madness.
go. Paul, final thoughts on Blackpool, or any other thoughts on Blackpool, should I say?
That was it, really. I mean, it was what you want, really. Well, that's what I wanted. Fucking hell. That was the only thing I wanted. That was sort of, yeah. It was the reason me and Joe went down is because it was my birthday. So all I wanted was for us to win and be top of the table on my birthday, and we sort of joined top. So I'll take that. It would be slightly better if my birthday was in May, and I was like demanding we were top of the table on my birthday. But yeah, that will do. That was, what we wanted.
Yeah, I think it was it's the first time in a long time where we've said about a game, or there'll be a lot that we can tell out of the back of this game, and you come out of it and you think, that's all good.
Yeah, I think the problem is one of those odd ones, isn't it? I know we sort of get sort of moan. It's like, we do longer pods when we lose. And it's like, because often when you lose, there's more things to talk about. And it was quite an odd, there wasn't a lot of shots in the game, was there? It wasn't, for a 3-2 draw, 3-2 victory, it wasn't like we had 30 shots and they had 20. And it also wasn't like I said to Neil earlier, when we scored the winning goal, it wasn't like we peppered their goal for 10 minutes and then scored the winning goal. But it was an interesting game, and it was a game which showed that we're getting there. We're definitely building something. Now, I think the thing with playing at St Andrews is the fact that it takes a bit of the pressure off everyone, because it's like there's no expectation because we're not playing. It's like with a club in crisis, so there's no sort of, the pressure to win at home is slightly different. Now, that's not saying because we're playing at St Andrews we're winning. It just means it's just a different thing. It is just a different thing for us at the moment, and there is definitely that it can galvanise you, can't it? Being that team in crisis can sometimes. Like Bury were in crisis last season. I know they've gone bust this season, but all the financial stuff was still going on last season. They still won promotion. If you can harness whatever it takes to get you going, then you can sort of build on that. And at the moment, we're building on it. And there is, everything seems quite settled around the club. No, every time there's a job, it's like, oh, Mark Robbins will go. I don't see it. I can't see Mark Robbins going, because I think, he must look at it and go, my managerial record at Coventry is amazing. My managerial record at other places is pretty fucking average. Why would I throw this away? I also think clubs would look at that. Yeah, and I think so. The manager's settled. The best thing about the transfer windows now is nothing can happen for 4 months. So our best players aren't going to go anywhere for 4 months. So we've got 4 months now basically to really build on what we've started. Burton are another difficult team. They're a tricky team to play against. If we come out of that, we're still talking next weekend, and then we've got the week off, haven't we? Because that's meant to be Bury away, and then it starts to sort of even itself out, because quite a few of the teams at the top have played a game less because they would have played Bury, or they've had international. So again, it's sort of, it all sort of starts to filter through, and you sort of, okay, everyone else has played 7 or 8 games, not just we played 7, some teams played 5. It's, we'll see where we are come the start of October, but we've started the season well. Let's build on this. Again, the fans, we sold out Burton, we sold out Oxford. Everyone seems to be going in the right direction. Obviously, we'd like to be back at the Rico where we should be, but let's just enjoy what we're doing at the moment on the pitch.
I think we should leave it there on what is a very rare, uplifting, positive Paul Knowles call to action. Yeah. Any final thoughts?
No, I'm good.
Lovely old job. Right. Thank you, Neil.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you, Paul.
Cheers, mate.
We'll be back next week. Thank you. Bye.